African state claims. Came to show the movement moving like a freight train, breaking walls and crumble earth with every step we take. We walking by with lash and your neck will break. Never let it stray, so say it wrong or set it straight. So coming at us with an awkward demeanor is leaving your life in the dead of fate. So pedal straight, avoid these shots, we send it all costs. Truly believing that it'll be different, we watching your body get hauled off. Simple as this, we giving the vibe of the revolution that we living within. Diminish the doubt of the haters that talk on the low because of this minuscule shit.
What? All I want for my birthday is big stompy mechs. Big stompy mechs. Big stompy mechs. Well, this came out of nowhere. There was no hints or shadows or secrets or whispers in the web of the internet. Just a couple minutes ago, this was posted. The original link was sent to me by our friend Ironcaster of Mech Pit Chat. Steamforged Games apparently is now the parent company of the Warmachine Iron Kingdoms line. Now, the first question you might be asking yourself in that sentence is, who is Steamforged Games? And the second question you might be asking yourself is, what's Warmachine? So let's answer the first question first. Steamforged Games, they make minis. That was their big thing. A lot of board games, a lot of minis. If we go to their shop, we can see a lot of board games that are linked to established IPs like Dark Souls, Gears of War, Monster Hunter, Resident Evil. So they've made a lot of board games with a lot of parts. So that gets them their, they're good with miniatures. The role-playing game-wise, they've made the Dark Souls role-playing game. Remember that? They're the maker of the Epic Encounters and the Local Legends. I'm a big fan of those Epic Encounters, those big $50 boxes with like 10 figures all built around the theme. They've got a role-playing game called RuneScape Kingdoms, Animal Adventures, and Adventures in Academia. Of all those, I've only heard of the Dark Souls role-playing game, and we all know how well that did. But the Epic Encounters and the Local Legends. So they definitely know minis. So now, what is Warhammer or Warmachine? Warmachine was brought to us a while back by a company called Privateer Press. It was basically Warhammer, but on a much smaller scale. It was more built around like 1 or 2 or 3 people in your army instead of 50. I played Warmachine and their other one, Hordes. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot easier to understand at first, but then there was like cards and stuff like that, and that made it more complicated. But I did enjoy playing it. I think Seth sold my army because it was on display at Seth's Games and Anime, and I never got around to getting it back because I didn't have room for it. Anyways, yeah, it's a very steampunk themed. You can tell by the mechs that it's much more steampunk themed than, say, some of the other games. So what does this mean for them? What games are Privateer Press still going to be making with the people of Warmachine? Because they had the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game, they had the Warmachine role-playing game, and they had Hordes, the miniature game. They still have Monster Apocalypse, which I absolutely love. Never got to play that game enough because it's a game about giant monsters. And a game called Level 7. Hordes, no mention of Hordes anywhere, which was their fantasy game. But as for Warmachine and the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game, that seems to have been taken up by Steamforged. Privateer Press says that the reason why they've made this partnership is after 25 years, they want to do more. And Steamforged Games presents them with the resources to reach a larger audience. What is Steamforged Game bringing to the Warmachine other than the larger audience and obviously the ability to maybe more mass produce figures and paint, apparently, because they have a paint thing as well. And they've got all these licenses here or association with all these licenses, most of which I've never heard of, but Riot Quest, Warcaster, Iron Kingdoms, we know that one. Minicraft, Hordes. Yeah, I remember Hordes. I liked Hordes. I don't remember if it was I think it was a Warmachine figure, and it was the most gorgeous thing I'd ever seen for a figure. It was like this angel that they had chained. I think it was a Warmachine figure. It might have been a Hordes figure, and they were all dragging this angel. All the little figures were dragging this giant angel into battle, and like that's just the most awful thing you've ever seen. But because dragging an angel that you've captured as a weapon, but it was also gorgeous. And I think that was these guys, but I'm not sure. So here's a bunch of titles I've never heard of, but maybe you have. And so these are all things that Steamforged Games and Privateer Press was either directly or indirectly involved with over the years. So by gobbling up Warmachine, Formula, P3 Paint, and Iron Kingdoms, it means they also get to do these lines as well, or not do, I think so. So what do these guys bring? Again, to the table that Privateer Press felt they couldn't bring to the table with this. Let's see, on the Privateer Press news, this went up on the 3rd. So they're getting the Iron Kingdom Warmachine Library, Warcaster, Neo Mechanica, Riot Gear, Boogers, all associate board games, card games, and fiction titles, as well as the Formula P3 hobby product line. Privateer will continue to partner with Steamforged Games to develop Warmachine, the Iron Kingdoms, and future products based upon the IP. Privateer will continue to manufacture Warmachine models while working with Steamforged Games to expand the materials the products are offered in, as well as increasing availability in markets where Warmachine is not widely accessible. They possess the resources, market reach, and infrastructure that will allow the momentum that Warmachine that feels they need, that Privateer Press feels they can't do on their own. So basically, it's here, you can do a better job than we can. You have more doors. At least we feel you do. So markets where Warmachine is not widely accessible. So, you know, because of the almost quasi-monopoly Games Workshop has on that market, it's very hard for the smaller companies to wedge their way in and go, hey, we're here too. We offer pretty much the exact same experience, but cheaper. And but yeah, you know, if you're a store and you're choosing between the guaranteed sell of Games Workshop and the gamble that is, you know, Privateer Press or Steamforged now, you're going to go with Games Workshop, just the recognizability. You know that you're going to sell that, this other one. But through Steamforged, because the Steamforged has this huge, you know, properties of board games, I guess they're thinking, Christopher Hedge. Hello, Christopher Hedge. Please like, please share, please subscribe. No hordes anymore, because when MKIV came out, they declared that all of it was Warmachine now. So hordes and Warmachine are just now the same universe, and you'll see the figures and, you know, the hordes figures in Warmachine now, or just they're just not doing hordes anymore. They've just ended that storyline. Probably the second. They're just, you know, people, Warmachine's what sell. We've got these, you know, whatever. I like some of the hordes figures though. You had some really cool big stompy monster figures. Thank you, Christopher Hedge, for the information. So yeah. So what are Steamforge's plans going forward, other than making the existing product available to a larger audience? You know, this allows them to do stuff like support communities, Facebook groups, fulfill orders that were maybe falling behind, do all the extemporaneous stuff like the guild ball and the organized play, be able to have more booths and more space at Gen Con and other events, be able to update quicker, be able to do Kickstarters, stuff like that. Do stuff with the Iron Kingdoms RPG, which I think is a 5e setting now, right? Not it should be. If there's a setting that's perfect for 5e, it's Iron Kingdoms or settings like that. I mean, you know, the engine of, that's a whole separate topic, but the 5e engine is a lot better for certain genres than other certain genres. Like for D&D, it's okay. It's not the best engine, I think, you know, for a D&D experience, but for like a steampunk Iron Kingdoms type experience, I think the 5e engine is perfect. So there we go. Somebody has asked, does this just mean Privateer Press's sales are going down? I don't know. You know, I think they've probably consistently been a good number 2 of the various miniature games that aren't Games Workshop that have all tried to be out there. They've consistently at least had a presence, as opposed to some of the other ones that just sort of have petered off, you know. But it's hard to beat Games Workshop. Let's face it, it's hard. They just have so much, and they've had so much for so long. So I don't know if their sales have dropped or just that there's not markets where they have even been able to have an in. I mean, even here where I live, and we have no game shops. We have a Games Workshop store. There you can see Games Workshop product on the shelves at, my Target. But other than Seth's, I don't think any of the stores here carried Warmachine, and Seth's only carried it for a very little bit, and only because a couple of us were interested in the figures, and we ended up using those figures for D&D. We played a little Warmachine, but in the end, we just, we stuck with Games Workshop, or I'm stuck with the other thing. Privateer Press's other thing was Monster Apocalypse, which we played a lot of. That became pretty big at Seth's. I mean, who doesn't like the idea of just, giant robots fighting kaiju and destroying Tokyo in the process? So thankfully, that's not dying. Looks like Privateer Press is keeping the Monster Apocalypse license. But again, it's hard to compete. Oh, here we go. More stuff from Christopher. Hello, Christopher. Thank you. So it's all one storyline, just marketing it as one game, so they weren't seen as separate anymore since you're always able to play one against the other. So we'll still see the Hordes figures, just Iron Kingdoms presents mechas and trolls. Okay, cool, whatever. I liked Hordes. I liked Iron Kingdom. Parts of Iron Kingdom. The first role-playing game didn't really work, but I understand I think it's under 5e now, so I think it works better under 5e. And this sounds like it's a good thing for Privateer Press. I mean, it's not like Steamforged Games is like a well-known name, but at least they make stuff. They make stuff you've seen. You might not recognize that stuff with that company, but that stuff's out there. And they have a history of making good figures. So they maybe will be able to get Warmachine into more markets than Privateer Press could. So, yeah. Is this a good thing? I think it's a good thing. It's always not, any time we can get a little competition for Games Workshop is always a good thing. Anytime we can present people who maybe are on a budget but still want to do big stomping mechs, go, hey, this game kind of does the exact same thing, but a lot cheaper. Then there you go. So there's some news. Normally we would save big stomping mech news for tomorrow, but I couldn't pass up not telling you guys about this because it just came out of nowhere. Like there was no hints that this must have been done either very hush hush or really quickly over a weekend. Anyways, congratulations, Steamforged Game. Hopefully you can do good things with Iron Kingdoms. I've always enjoyed Iron Kingdoms, so we'll see. And there we go. That's something that resembles news. I'll talk to y'all later. You know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, buy my merch. Have a great day. Drive careful. Get off my land, etc.